Learn to give up. Learn not to hold. When there are some elements who feel that they want a change, learn to accept. And today I often look back at that incident with gratitude.
Yes.
I'm so grateful. But because of that, I began to do a lot of internal sadhana and prayers.
Welcome to our Baba and I series. We are so happy you made time to come here for our recording this morning. Sister, may we know how you got to know about Sai Baba?
First of all, greetings to you, Doreen. Now, Baba came in a very strange way into our lives. My mother was a very spiritual person. She had in her home a boarder who was teaching in one of the local schools. One day, this Malay girl brought this little picture and gave it to my mother and said, all the teachers in the school are looking at this picture, Auntie, would you want one? And my mother said, okay, since you have brought it, just put it into the cupboard. Now, however, 2 or 3 days later, that picture drew her so much that she did a painting of the picture. My mom was good at art. She did a painting of the picture. A week later, Amrit flowed out of the picture.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mother was thrilled, of course, and she wanted to have a bhajan to commemorate this wonderful presence of Sathya Sai Baba. My husband very adamantly said he had planned a golf game in Malacca and he was going. And I adamantly said I was following him. My mother, of course, was very disappointed, but she said, well, I will continue with my bhajan. Now, just that Friday before our departure, my husband sent my boy to the VI, and then he went to have a cup of coffee until it was time for him to go to work. As he sat in this old coffee shop, having his cup of coffee, suddenly there was a huge bang, and he went unconscious. He was rushed to the hospital, and there, when he regained consciousness, the surgeon said he had 4 stitches on his head and he was bleeding. He had 4 stitches. Fortunately, not so serious. But that immediately made my husband realize that there was something special about this bhajan that my mother wanted to have. And that was the way we first had our first bhajan. With a big bang, my husband was brought in. Now, there were many other miracles, particularly with my little nephew, Mayvin. He was a very devout child. He's now 34. But on his 2nd birthday, he looked at this painted picture of Swami and he said, Swami, tomorrow is my party. You are coming for my birthday. He looked at the picture and he said, you are coming for my birthday. And then my mother took him and went out to do a bit of shopping. When she came back, she was shocked. The rocking chair, which was outside in the hall, was inside the prayer room. And the rocking chair was draped with my mother's wedding sari. And the moment this boy went in, the rocking chair began to rock. And camphor began to break out all at the foot of the rocking chair. Yes. And my mother then really felt that Swami was with us in spirit. So we became very staunch devotees, and we decided that we would like to go to Prashanti. Again, like all men, my husband hesitated. He was going to Delhi on a work, and I said I will meet him at Chennai and we will go. He was quite reluctant, but we did go to Chennai. And when he came from Delhi, he said, okay, you always have your way. Since you want to go, we will go. But I'm not well at all. I'm having very serious piles problem. When I return to KL, I must have a major surgery. So I said, oh, but we will go here and see what it is. So we went to Puttaparthi. And at that time, it was a very small place, no Purna Chandra Hall, no Kulwans Hall, nothing. And we were sitting with the crowds. I was alone. I was sitting in the crowd among all the local people, no VIPs, nothing, all local people. And my husband was sitting in one of those big boulders far away. Then Swami came, and he was such a small person. He just stood at the doorway and he raised his hands in healing. He just raised his hands like that. And I just felt that there was something very, very powerful that came out of those hands. And suddenly I turned around and I saw my husband behind me.
Oh.
Yes, he had come down from the boulders, rushed down, and he was there. And tears came down his cheeks. And we returned, that was all. We returned to Bangalore and to Chennai and back home. And from that day onwards, his piles completely stopped.
Wow, miracle healing.
Yeah. He did not have to go for any surgery and he did not bleed anymore. And all we did was to be vegetarian on Thursdays. That was all that we gave Swami for this blessing that he had given us on that day.
Amazing.
Now, following that, of course, we were drawn in by Brother Gana Jegadeva, who ran the Bangsa Center. He was thrilled to have my husband because he was with the Ministry of Education. And that was good connection for our value education. So we had our first EHV conference when Sri Indulal Shah and all the big names of Sanjeev and all of them came down from Prashanti. From then on, we started very seriously in the EHV education. And I'm so happy and so very blessed that I was one of the team members who went to give EHV training to Sabah, Sarawak, Indonesia, Philippines, Bangkok, and so forth. It was so wonderful. It was at the infancy, and we did all the training beautifully, and people were so very thrilled. And Malaysia was leading the heights of with Brother Art Ong and Lorraine. We had a wonderful time spreading Swami's value education.
Sister, could you relate to us how did Sai School in PJ came about? How did this school get started?
With our focus on human value education, Brother Jegadeva was very anxious that we should have a Sai School. And at that point of time, Mother Mangalam, who runs the major orphanage in Kuala Lumpur, had an empty building adjoining her home. And she was more than happy to hand over the building to Jega and my husband Jegadeva, the both of them, because she loved and trusted the Sai movement a great deal. So the school was set up. But we had a little bit of a setback in that there was some what shall I say, in the transaction of the school with the Ministry of Education. So temporarily, the school that was supposed to have started in January with the students was closed down.
Oh, the application was rejected?
Yes, the application was rejected because they thought that we were a religious school, which we were not, Doreen. We were not a religious school.
Yes.
But they thought we were a religious school until we proved that we were a spiritual value-oriented school. And then they agreed, and the school was given its full recognition and opened on the Akhanda Bhajan day of that year. My husband was so happy because the only time I saw him cry was when the school had lost its permit. But when he got it, he was so happy on Akhanda Bhajan day that the letter came. Then my husband was the first principal, Jegadeva was the first principal of the school, and it was a school that was really overflowing with love. The orphans from the home used to come regularly, and lots of our own Sai devotees used to sponsor their uniforms and their food and everything else, and there was such a lot of good fellowship in the school.
A brainchild of Swami himself wanted every country in the world to start one value-based school which would provide free education. The Sai Council took up this challenge, and we went around, collected money from all our Sai devotees. This is our project, but the money collected wasn't enough for us to build a school and run it. Fortunately for us, the Pure Life Society and Orphanage had this building of 7 classrooms, and in return, we said we will educate their children for free. So we are actually taking care. The core of the children in this school are for the Pure Life orphan children who are really backward in their studies, but they are good students, only emotionally scarred. And we began last year, 2002, with standards 1, 2 and 3. And this year we have standard 4, and in the next 2 years we'll have a fully fledged primary school. The difference between us and the other primary schools in the country is that we have a more value-based emphasis in curricular and co-curricular program.
Well, the attraction of the Sekolah Rendah Sathya Sai is actually the human value element. But however, many parents or all parents actually expect us to be in line with the curriculum and the standards of exams. We must never forget that our children will also be competing with the UPSR exams in the national curriculum. So fortunately, we are very exam focused, and we do great deal of the classroom work is covering the syllabus and keeping to the standards of the other schools or trying even to be better. But we realize that it is a Sekolah Rendah Sathya Sai, and therefore we do inculcate a lot of value elements in the daily curriculum of the child. Now, right early morning, the children are all expected to sit very quietly, and we start the day with quiet meditation and prayer. Now, many parents have been quite fascinated by this, that the moment they enter the school, there is perfect silence. And because all the children have gone up for their meditation session and their prayer. So that is just before school begins. Then the normal curriculum goes on, the teaching, the exam focus and so forth. Then when interval time comes along again, the meals are all completely vegetarian. And as we inculcate this habit of a vegetarian diet, we also talk to them about non-violence, ahimsa and so forth. And meals are always begun with a prayer and things like that. And we also have a strict eye on them in the playing field about sharing, cooperation and so forth. And then school ends, and again the playing field is an open field for trying out how children behave with each other. We are now actually 6 months or 8 months into operation, and we do find it an uphill task, because in the playing field you can see a lot of aggression, bullying tendencies and so forth. And we keep a close eye, watchful eye on it, and we do a lot of counseling of the kids. Now then, of course, we also have our Saturdays. Now Saturdays, unlike other government schools, where they only have alternate Saturdays of extracurricular, we have every Saturday. Now some of the parents have expressed a little bit of concern that it's practically a 6-day week. But the teachers and I feel that while during the normal 5-day week, they have too much of stress on studies, we like the 6th day to be one of fun and joy. And also the 6th day invites a lot of our young Sai youth. And now I would like to pay gratitude or express my thanks to a lot of the Klang Valley Sai youth who come in on the Saturdays and give them that extra joy and pleasure. It's really wonderful to see them playing badminton and netball and hockey, and the kids love it. They will miss any other day but never a Saturday. So on the Saturdays, we also take it an opportunity to essentially have the Sathya Sai EHV classes, where we incorporate meditation, prayer, devotional singing or value-added singing, storytelling, craft work, activities and so forth.
Many quotations in this school. For an example of a quotation is help ever, hurt never.
Even though we are not ever ready to help people, we must not hurt others.
Silent seeking can help to improve our concentration during class.
I like the most activity in the school is football. After the silent sitting, we also will do some quotations such as The hands that help are holier than the lips that pray.
I like this school because the teachers are kind to us and give us knowledge.
Our yearly expenditure is about from 500,000 ringgit a year to about 650,000 ringgit this year. So all this money comes from devotees, well-wishers, sympathizers, and some corporate bodies who have come, visited us, studied our school, and found that what we are doing is noble.
And to this day, it's 15 years and the school is running very well. Our first batch are already doctors, lawyers and actuarial scientists.
Wonderful.
Yes, and we have a very good alumni running. But there was something that I learned. When I took over from my husband as principal, I went to Puttaparthi and I was asked to give a talk, and I spoke in the presence of Swami. Swami said, very good speech, and he gave me Pada Namaskar. But, Doreen, it was very funny. The moment I came back after the very good speech and Swami's blessing, unfortunately, there were some parents who were not happy with my way of running the school. And I take it very positively. They were unhappy with my strictness and my way of running the school. And they went to the extent of demanding that they wanted a new head. When I look at retrospect, I am so blessed because I learned that Swami said, you are speaking very well, but your internal sadhana is not enough. I took it that way. He freed me from the school. He rubbed my ego. My ego was hurt, but I kept, and I told myself, and my husband told me this as well, learn to give up, learn not to hold. When there are some elements who feel that they want a change, learn to accept. And today I often look back at that incident with gratitude.
Yes.
I'm so grateful, but because of that, I began to do a lot of internal sadhana and prayers.
So Swami wanted you to go inside.
Yes, that's true. He said the school can be run by somebody else. I have got, and they found lovely representatives, and it also showed me that no one is indispensable, and the art of letting go is very important. So that was a very good lesson I learned from the school.
Sister, could you share with us what happened after that?
Yes, as I told you, I left with a bit of pained feeling because man has his ego and the ego gets hurt. But gradually, with my husband's advice, I got over it. I used to go back to the school very often to teach poetry and drama and things like that, and learn to just stand on the periphery and not get too emotionally attached. And I thought that was a wonderful lesson I've learned. Now I've learned to let go of my children, of my granddaughter, everything. And I think that's because of that experience that I had.
Detachment.
Detachment, yes. I learned detachment very much. And it was amazing. From that point onwards, I began to turn my attention to the women, to the Vanita section. And I churned out plays after plays where only the women acted. And it was wonderful because even the lowest of the lowest who were so shy were able to go on stage. But more important than that was the personal growth of each of the women. They were all women and they acted just amazingly like real professionals. And there were women who only could speak Tamil, who could only speak Chinese, and they all were put together and they did a marvelous job. We did 5 jobs. We did 5 productions in all. And that also taught me how to manage people, how to be not disappointed with any shortcomings, how to relate and establish a relationship from the lowest to the highest. And that was a wonderful experience for me. In the meantime, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. He had cancer of the larynx over here, and he did not want to go for surgery, nor did he want to take chemo. And for 8 years, Swami's grace was wonderful. He was chairman of the board of governors. He carried on his work as chairman of the board of governors of the school. He drove everywhere by himself. He attended all Sai functions. He was a very loved member of the PJ Center. And so I was feeling so grateful for him and his good fortune. But alas, after 8 years, just about 3 days before, he told me, I think I can't stand it, I want to go. Please let me go. My children came and they were there beside him, and he only had pain and suffering for 2 days. And at the end of the 2 days, when we had him, brought him home, I want to go home, I want to go home. He came home and just peacefully passed away. And today, Doreen, when you asked me about my own transformation, I was a very, very arrogant in a way, not like my husband, a perfectionist. I felt that I was the best in English and I could do a lot of things. But in a way, being evicted from the Sai school, I use the word evicted in a nice way. I had graces with Dato Jega and so forth. But I interpret all these as for our own benefit and growth. Today, I really feel love for everyone. And even if I don't, I chant the Gayatri very vigorously. Sometimes people can be very irritating. But I chant my Gayatri very much and all the while say, forgive me, the fault is mine, I can't change anybody, but I can change myself. You know, there are people who can be a bit difficult, but I keep telling myself, I can't change them, but I can change myself. And today, we are very vigorously learning the chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, devotion. It is a devotional chapter, and we are going to chant it online. 100 of us are going to chant it online to Baba's Women's Day.
Sir, I would like to also point out that were you instrumental in setting up the Gayatri chanting group for ladies?
We started the Gayatri group 20 years ago, where only women meet every Thursdays, have a nice satsang, we share with each other, we chant the 108 Gayatri mantras, and we share with each other our problems, our troubles. We pray for each other and then have a lovely bhojan at the end of it, which is a highlight of our meetings. And now we still continue that with the online going on. Online we keep going on. The Zoom, yes.
Among Swami's teachings, which mean most to you, sister?
Not that it means most to me, but the one that I really very hard try and follow, the one about speak sweetly, speak gently, do not speak behind one's back, because I am guilty often of just speaking off like that, and I am sometimes not very gentle. And my husband has always warned me. He was noted for his very, very affable way. And he warned me always, be careful of the way you speak. And now I learned that it's very, very important, especially being a senior member of the organization, not to think that I know everything. It is important to listen, to weigh things, watch your words, and give it whenever it is needed. Most importantly, especially even with my sister, I have an only sister, I tend to be sometimes a bit harsh on her. Then I say, Swami, help me. I have to learn to be gentle and sweet. So those are the words that I always remember. Speak sweetly, speak gently, do not speak behind anybody's back. So that is a very important thing I try. And sometimes you may be a bit boring because interesting people are those who have a lot of gossip. So sometimes, but you choose to be Swami's girl, Swami's angel, Swami's messenger. That is important. Because as at the crematorium, people, even in death, people said, oh, this is the Jegadeva talked about Sai Baba. This is the Sai Baba he talked about. So that is important, that we carry Swami's message.
Yes. Sister, to you personally, who is Sai Baba?
For me, Sai Baba was an ordinary human being. But in the Gita, it's often said that God takes avatars come down on earth when the Kali Yuga is very, very bad. And Swami, the Lord came down, Lord Vishnu came down on earth as Sai Baba in order to spread, not with the weapons or with the arms, but gently through value education. And that is the armor that he has been using. So that is Swami, I believe, is God incarnate, the Lord incarnate.
Sister, I see you have brought something for the recording. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share and pay tribute to the Sai Council who gave this as an honorarium to my husband and me. They just recognized our work and gave the two of us this beautiful plaque.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for coming here this morning to share with us your wonderful story and experience. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.